last big meeting last year in Canberra and was absolutely fabulous. And since then, I've got to know Kate quite well, and I think she's a great human. And she lives down in Albury, and so we caught up a couple of months ago when we were doing one of our trips for the face-to-face consultations. So Kate is 38 years old, lives in Albury independently with her dog Gabby. Gabby's on the screen as well. She has a passion to help others live the lives that they want to live and push the boundaries of what others may think we can achieve. This year, she's been studying Allied Health Assistant course at TAFE. She's also the first student who uses an electric wheelchair to enrol in the course at Wodonga TAFE. Her other passions are volunteering for the Good Friday Appeal. She's been doing this for 16 years. And Olivia Newton-John Wellness Walk for the past 9 years. One of her favourite things to do is to go to live concerts. I feel like Kate is constantly at live concerts, and she's a massive Aussie music fan. So we're going to have Kate talking about safety, relationships, and what does it mean to listen to her and to other people with disability. And just on a separate note, I'm quite jealous of her wheelchair. I feel even shorter. Normally when I'm sitting next to somebody in a wheelchair, I feel at the same level, but I think you've got a good chair. So please, put your hands together for Kate.
Hi everyone, as Mel said, my name's Kate and I'm from Albury. As Mel also said, I've been doing this year certificate in Allied Health Assistance. Boy, has that been a challenge and a half. With things like access issues and those sorts of things, it's been a very, very challenging year, but thoroughly enjoying it, hoping to go into speech pathology assistance at the end of the course. So today I'm wanting to talk to you guys about safety in general relationships. So the everyday communications that we have with people within our community and services. Firstly, the medical system. We all use it, but for people with a disability, it can be quite a minefield. As a child, our parents are generally the ones that are advocating for us. For people with a disability, that actually doesn't necessarily change. If we're in a room, a medical room, and we're with a support worker or a family friend or family member, the person that we are with is generally the one that is being spoken to. It's one of the biggest reasons why I try very hard not to go with a family member, and 9 times out of 10, if I'm going to an appointment that requires me to actually leave Albury, my parents, who are watching today, look after this one for me. That's their job. So, as I said, I think the other issue when it comes to medical system is when we're going in for medical procedures and things like that, there's been times where I've actually asked for a female to be the one that's doing the procedure, because they are quite invasive sometimes. And when I get to the appointment, after being told that this can happen, I get there and the male's there. And there might be female nurses in the room, but emotionally, I don't feel very safe. Physically, I don't feel very safe. It becomes a situation where I'm overwhelmed and I can't, I have to go through with it, but it's something that I think one of the things that we need to think about and the medical system needs to provide is a little bit of correspondence, communication with us, so that we have the decision to either reschedule the appointment if the original plan of having a female cannot be done, but also if they are able to, have a support person come in with us so that we do feel safe and secure in that environment. I don't think that's too much to ask. Obviously during COVID that's a little bit trickier, but communication needs to be a whole lot better so that we can both feel physically and emotionally safe in those rooms, because it can be quite daunting. And if we don't understand what's going on, there's no safety there at all. The next topic that I wanted to talk to you guys about is just our neighbourhoods that we live in, our communities that we live in. I'm someone who lives on my own, as Mel said, with my dog, and with the rise in B&Bs these days, the sense of neighbourhood and neighbourhood security, I feel for myself, I don't feel as safe. Not that the people staying in the neighbourhood, in the B&Bs, are unsafe people, but just that I don't have the ability to call on a neighbour if I run into trouble at any point. So for me that becomes a little bit dangerous, but it also becomes expensive because I'm asking support workers to come in and help me do these tasks and then having to pay their bills. So I think that's something that really needs to be looked at, and I think one of the ways that can potentially be looked at is if we have something like Centrelink provides people who are on the disability pensional who have got disability needs to have a bit of a service provider guide so that we can access certain services that we may need during these times. The last thing in regards to the neighbourhood that I only found out when I moved up to Albury, I thought it was a very dumb question when I rang the fire brigade 12 years ago and I said, my smoke alarm's going off. I can't change the battery. What do I do? And they said, we'll fix that for you. And I sort of was a bit surprised. But then they told me that that is actually a service that they provide. And so now every year I'm on their little roster, and every year they will give me a call and say, do you need your smoke alarm changed? And they come in, they have got to know my dog, and so they know the PAT system that is involved, and they come in, they do it, and then they leave. They're so friendly, and it's a service that that I wasn't aware of. And I think that's something that, if you're in a community, that's something that you need to be aware of. And apparently it's for all people with disabilities and the elderly, so get on it if you need it, guys. So I think the other thing is, to follow on from that, is to have some sort of a brochure that's sent out to people with disabilities, or people that are renters or homeowners, just so that they're aware of these services that are out there, that it's word of mouth, which it needs to actually be a little bit more widespread than that, so that we can actually use the services that are actually there. At the moment, they're hidden. The next thing I wanted to talk about with you guys is transport. Interesting. When you're with the disability, it can be very interesting. I use taxis to get around Albury, and those taxis are pretty good. But when you're tied in, when it comes to the back of the taxi, you're tied in over the back axle of the taxi. That means every single bump that is hit, every single bend that we go around, when they speed up a little bit, we feel it. It hurts our back. And sometimes we can be in pain for quite a while afterwards. So I think there needs to be a little bit of disability awareness for those drivers, because otherwise we're not safe, and we're not surrounded by anything when we're tied in at the back. There's not always chairs around us, so we can, if they haven't connected the belt properly, we could become a human projectile. Don't really want to try that. And also we have a situation sometimes where if they do go around the bend, my chair at times has swerved a little bit if they haven't tied the tyres down too tightly. So that's a bit of a problem. So I think disability training for all of these services needs to be a major mandatory thing, not just recommended, which I've heard many times that it is only recommended. Coaches, well, I use V-Line, and Mum and I had a situation last year where we went down to see a musical, Hairspray, awesome. And the train wasn't running, so we had to get on the coach. We were told it's wheelchair accessible. Yeah, it was. However, no one knew how to use the features.
Oh.
So we got there and they had to work out how to use the lift thing, which is on all taxis, so it shouldn't be that hard. Then I got in and they didn't know how to use the tie downs, so it actually took a couple of the passengers to work that out. That's all well and good, yes, I got to where I needed to be. However, it's not a tick the box situation. Like, you can't just say, we have got a wheelchair accessible coach and then leave it at that. You actually need the training involved. The people that are driving need to know what's going on so that they can assist, because this particular driver just stood back and watched the passengers set it up. So, do you think I felt safe? No. But it was a situation, if you don't laugh, you cry. The one good transport story I have for you though is, as I mentioned, I go down to Melbourne a lot for concerts, usually. And one of the things that I have found out is there's a service at Southern Cross Station called Traveller's Aid. They actually have a companion service. They will take you from their office to a medical appointment or to the hotel that you're staying at or something like that. So that means that for someone who lives in the country, they don't have to navigate the city. Awesome. Love that. The last thing I want to talk to you about is support workers. A lot of us in the room, we use them. They're unknown a lot of the time to us. A lot of the time they're not skilled in disability work itself. I call them, unfortunately, paid relationships, because whatever I need, they provide however I pay for them to do it. And so I think what needs to happen is with admin practices and training and supervision, I think will help a lot of these support workers, because a lot of them are young. They're good at their job, but they just need a little bit of guidance. So I think that they're probably, for me, the aspects that I use a lot, and they're the aspects that I think need to change. Thank you.